Hi there, I'm Dr. Terry Fox, the medical detective and your mold expert. I am here today to talk to you about mold illness, something that I'm very passionate about. So, by the time patients have come to me, they've generally seen 20 to 40 other specialists. They've had multiple scans. Some of them have been to the Mayo Clinic. They've gone down all kinds of roads to try to get better by the time that they walk into my door. And one of the things that happens is that when you see multiple doctors over and over who tell you there's nothing wrong with you, what can happen is that you can begin to feel that you're crazy because you're sick and you can't take care of your children and you can't go to work and you can't do all the things that you love that bring you joy and balance. And the truth is that you are not crazy. In fact, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that are mold sensitive. At least 25% of the population is sensitive to mold. So the truth also is that most doctors don't know anything about mold. We get absolutely no training in medical school. I think I learned in med school that mold is a fungus. That's all I learned. Um, it falls into the they don't know what they don't know. But I do sort of wish they would just say they don't know instead of nothing's wrong with you. Um, so I'm an MD. I went to University of California, San Francisco for med school. I did a family medicine internship, and then I did a board certification in integrative and holistic medicine. And I've been training in functional medicine and practicing functional medicine for about 20 years. And after doing functional medicine, I don't know, maybe 5 years, I found that about 80% of my patients would get better with the normal functional medicine matrix or framework. And, we would work on getting them sleeping, optimize their nutrients, work on their adrenals and their hormones, and they would get better. And 20% of the patients that I saw just didn't budge at all. And I came to find out that those 20% had biotoxin illness. So, a biotoxin is something that a living organism releases that is pathogenic or disease causing to humans. And so it's things like mold toxicity that releases mycotoxins. It's things like Lyme and Lyme co-infections that release biotoxin that exacerbate symptoms. And so that brought me into the world of Lyme, which naturally leads somebody into the world of mold, which I'll explain a little bit more as I go. Um, so, what are mold symptoms? If you're sitting there wondering, is this even you? Do you need to keep paying attention? Mold symptoms are fatigue, brain fog, cognitive dysfunction of all kinds, memory loss, word recall, processing speed, all of it, even things that masquerade like dementia. And headaches and migraines, insomnia, anxiety, depression, and a lot of unusual neurological presentations that don't fit into a neurological diagnosis. So things like asymmetrical numbness, tingling, weakness, burning sensations, ice pick sensations, crawling sensations, ataxia or difficulty with balance, visual changes, fasciculations, muscle twitches all over. Um, Those are some examples. And then there's often a rapid weight gain or weight loss, which is a big tip off for me. If somebody has a, kind of strange constellation of symptoms and they also like dropped 20 pounds or put on 30 pounds in a month or two, it's a big hint. And so those are kind of the common ones. You can also, of course, get congestion and some, a bit of a cough and a lot of weird rashes and acne and actually hair loss as well. Um, and so I want to explain another concept called total body burden. I'm sure many of you have heard of it, but the idea is that we are born with an internal bucket. And so we've got this bucket since the day we were born, and it gets filled with things. So it can get filled with plastics, pesticides, glyphosate, which is Roundup, heavy metals, biotoxin from Lyme and Lyme co-infections, COVID spike protein and inflammation. And then you get in a moldy house. And when that bucket overflows, the system crashes. And so the nice thing about this concept is it's mold can sometimes just be the final straw. It wasn't, the whole thing, but it was the thing that tipped the balance and overflowed your bucket. So, um, what happened for me was when my son, this is my first my first big mold exposure. When my son was 8 years old, he was one of those thrill-seeking maniac, really active little boys that didn't walk, ran, and jumped off things, and kind of tried to hurt himself all day. And then he started limping, and he was stiff when he, would sit in a long car ride, or when he woke up in the morning, he started getting anxious, which was really weird for this fearless kid. Um, and yeah, he had like an anxiety that was just strange and felt like not him. And he put on 30 pounds on his scrappy little 8-year-old body in like 6 weeks. So obviously didn't feel like himself. And this whole thing sort of culminated. So I first found out he had Lyme. And then I brought him to a wonderful Lyme doctor, Dr. Steve Harris in California, who gave us a mold test for Kai, and it came back really high. Um, and at this point, I knew nothing about mold. I knew nothing about remediating. I had a construction company go in and clear out a water leak above Kai's room without any containment and without any negative air, and obviously not knowing what I was doing. And from that moment on, my son didn't get out of his bed for 6 months. He had 9 out of 10 pain in his head, and any movement at all would make it worse. And it was awful. It was really awful. Um, so we found out that we had mold in our house. We had a lot of mold. We had 3 feet of water under the entire house, and it was under the vapor barrier, so we hadn't noticed it. But if you cut the vapor barrier, yeah, there was 3 feet of water, and our airborne spore traps were in the red, which is very unusual. In fact, I don't even recommend that you get any airborne spore traps. They're very low yield. But so once we found this out and we, remediated the home, we ended up selling it. I didn't believe my son would get better there. The marriage didn't make it out, but my son got better once we moved out of the house. And I already had put him on phase 1 mold detox of binders and glutathione. And then once he was out of the exposure, I started him on antifungals and then finally biofilm, and he got, 100% better within, I don't know, maybe, I mean, he was 70% better, a month out, and then, took maybe 6 months to get to 100%. But, pretty quickly he was back in school full time and playing soccer again, and, living his really happy life. And now he's doing great. He's almost 21. He's studying chemical engineering and still playing soccer and as healthy as could be. So that was my entry into mold. I was mold sick also. And like, a lot of moms, I didn't really treat myself till later, which I kick myself now because I suffered longer than I need to. Um, and so you can probably tell that I have my own connection to this diagnosis. And, I'm an MD, so I can only treat patients in Colorado. And I've had patients call me from all over the country, from all over the world. And so I had a lot of people ask me to make a course and bring my mold eradication protocol to the world. And so I finally did that. So I took 14 years of mold treatment, and I curated out of that all the things that worked, and I took out all the things that didn't. And I learned, quite a bit about the common pitfalls that people do, that they make themselves more sick and then they don't get better. And then they think they'll never get better and they give up. And that to me is really, really sad. Um, and so some of the common pitfalls for those of you that are out there that know you have mold and maybe have tried to treat it and failed, is the most common one is going too much too fast. There's this pace at which your body can detoxify, metabolize, and get these things out of the system. And you really can't go faster than what the body's capable of. And so if you do too much too fast, you can get more sick, feel worse. And then if you go out of order, so there's a real specific order to things. A good example of that would be if you, found out you have mold and maybe you start a binder and then you start an antifungal. So if you take an antifungal, it's going to kill any mold living in your system if you have colonized any mold in your system. And when you kill it, it releases its contents, which are those mycotoxins. And so effectively, you're giving the system, releasing into the system 10 times more of the thing that was already making you sick, overflowing that bucket even further. So you can see how the order is really important, and that if we do it in the right order, you feel nothing or better the entire time. And it works really, really beautifully. People do great. Um, and so, I just wanted to say that not all mold treatments are the same, and that I do have a mold eradication protocol that has worked for thousands of people, and I'm super excited to bring it to you and your family and to anybody else out there that is suffering from mold. And the mold protocol that I will walk you through in this course has two phases, phase one and phase two. So, phase one is bind and unwind. And that is where we teach and train the body how to detoxify, metabolize, and get out of the body these mycotoxins that are making us sick. And the nice thing about doing a really good phase one detox is that you will open up all your detoxification channels, kidney, liver, lymph, and you'll begin to drain and detox and get out of your bucket multiple different things that might be filling up that internal bucket. And when you get your levels of things down below the top, is when you begin to feel better, and your life starts to come back to you, and you have some more bandwidth with which to get more exposures, because the world's, kind of a toxic place. But we have ways around it. Um, so this protocol is very safe. It's designed to keep you from making yourself feel more sick or get more sick or mobilize things that you can't get out to worse places. It's also very effective and has worked for thousands of patients. Um, and it's very handheld and spoon fed. It's very easy to follow. It's 35 small, short modules that walks you through the whole thing, including how to keep you well. So once you get better from mold and you've got a negative mold test and you're living your life, you're going to want to know, how do I not ever get sick from that again? And so we work on a lot of tolerance, resiliency, and prevention. And then we also do some mitochondrial resuscitation, because your mitochondria take a hit from mold illness, and mold treatment. So we feed your mitochondria so that everything works generally better than it ever has by the time that we're done. Um, so if you think that you have mold, I invite you to join me on a journey and to get 100% better, get your life back all the way, enjoy all the parts of your life that have been missing, and get better. So, because I'm an MD, a medical doctor, I am only licensed in Colorado, and I can only treat patients that live in Colorado. And so, after curating this mold eradication protocol over 15 years and learning what works and what doesn't, it's sort of heartbreaking to not be able to bring it to the rest of the world. And that's why I curated this course that I am so excited to bring to the rest of you that don't live in this state, that don't live in this country, perhaps. I am a really strong believer that mold is really treatable and there is no reason to continue suffering. And so there are several options for you of ways to begin getting better. Um, and the first way is to do a complete DIY, so a complete do-it-yourself course. There are 35 modules. They're short, they're quick, they're easy, and it will walk you through step by step exactly what to do and at what pace and how to get better. And there's also a 6-month VIP membership where you get access to a community support forum, as well as twice a month weekly Q&As with me. And so if you feel like you might need a little more hand holding, that one might be a good option for you. That one is $1,997. The do it yourself is $997. And so I encourage all of you to go ahead and jump in. I will see you in the Community Support Forum, and begin your road to getting better and having your happiest life. If you're not ready to quite jump in yet, I also developed a very extensive mold resource guide. It took me 2 years. I poured my heart and soul into it, and it has everything from what binders for which mycotoxins, to what kind of testing to do on your home, to what kind of testing to do on the body, to what air filters actually work for mold, to many different forms of limbic retraining, to exactly what is a good remediation, what is a small particulate cleanup, what is an indoor environmental professional, and what does a real mold inspection look like. So it's full of information where you could really begin starting to get better with that as well. And that one's only $29.97. And you can buy it right here if you click below. And finally, if you're not sure what's the right path for you, which one you should do, then you can also do a mold eradication strategy call by clicking the link here, and you can have a phone call with somebody on my team who can explain everything to you and help guide you into the right place. Okay, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope you're left with a lot of hope and knowing and believing that you can get all the way better, because you can.